Everyone tells you if he's not reaching out, it's because he's not interested. But that is a lie. A well-intentioned lie, perhaps, but a lie nonetheless. Because a man's silence is far more complex than that. And if you don't understand what it truly means, you'll keep misinterpreting everything over and over again. After years of working with women who ask the same quiet questions, why isn't he calling? Why hasn't he responded? Why did he just vanish? I began to see something that left me frozen. The problem wasn't that these women didn't know how to read the signs. The problem was that they had been taught to misread them. From the time they were girls, they were told that love always pursues, that if a man truly cares, he'll text every day, he'll call every night, he'll never pull away. They were told, if he wanted to, he would. And so every silence feels like rejection. Every pause feels like disinterest. Every hour without a message feels like something is broken. But today, we are going to dismantle that illusion. Because a man's silence is not random. It is not meaningless. It is not always a red flag. And it is never as simple as, if he's not texting, he doesn't care. No. A man's silence is a mirror, a reflection of what's happening inside him. And by the time you finish reading this, you'll know exactly what to do. When he pulls away, without losing your center, without losing your peace, without losing your power, before you say, but I already know this, let me ask you something real. The last time he didn't text for 2 days, did you stay grounded? Did you resist the urge to check your phone every hour? Did you not start spinning anxious stories in your mind? If the answer is no, then stay with me, because this message is for you. As Carl Jung once said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. And that's where this moment becomes your mirror. Let's bring in some ancient wisdom from a place few people turn to when it comes to love. Stoicism? Now, maybe you think stoicism means being cold, unemotional, detached. But that's not what real stoicism teaches. Real stoicism means this. You stay centered while the world shifts around you. You stay rooted in your value. Whether someone texts you or doesn't. Whether someone chooses you or vanishes without explanation. It's not about becoming numb. It's about becoming unshakable. Now, this part might sting. Sometimes, a man's silence isn't just avoidance. It's a quiet test, a subconscious experiment to see how you'll react when he pulls back. Not every man does this with cruel intentions, but many do it. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It often works. Have you ever found yourself sending one of these messages? Hey, how are you? Everything okay? Haven't heard from you in a bit. Just checking in. You explain why you didn't text, even though it was him who disappeared. And if you've done this, he's seeing what he wanted to see. That his absence disorients you. That your peace depends on his presence. And here's what breaks my heart the most. Many women, incredible, powerful, successful women, who lead teams, raise children, build businesses, survive storms, fall into this trap. Not because they're weak, but because they were never taught what his silence actually means. They were only taught to fear it. And yes, some men do this intentionally. They distance themselves to see if you'll chase, to see if your world collapses. When they remove their attention, it becomes a psychological experiment where your reaction tells him how much power he holds over you. But now, listen carefully, because this is the moment it shifts. Every time you respond to his silence with desperation, every time you abandon your calm to go chasing answers, you are giving away a power he does not deserve. You are teaching him that he can control your emotional weather without even being present. But here is what Stoicism teaches us. And this may be the most important line of all. Your value is not defined by who reaches out to you. Your worth is not proven by how much attention he gives you today. Your beauty, your radiance, your depth doesn't flicker just because he forgot to say good morning. So when he goes silent, what do? You do not chase. You do not spiral. You do not beg your phone to light up. You breathe. You ground. You stay in your center. You remember who the hell you are. And from that place of calm power, you'll begin to see his silence for what it truly is. Data, not destiny. Not always a goodbye. Not always a manipulation. Sometimes it's just where he is in his own inner work. And whether he returns or not, you do not lose yourself because you've built something deeper than a relationship with him. You've built a relationship with yourself. If this resonated with you, if you felt the sting of silence and want to reclaim your power from it, share this message with a friend, with a sister, with the version of yourself who needed this 5 years ago. And remember, a woman rooted in her own energy is unshakable. She doesn't chase, she attracts not through effort, but through presence. It's not defined by how often he calls. It's defined by how you stay centered when he doesn't. A woman who remains grounded in his silence, who continues living, loving, creating, who doesn't shrink or shift her energy just because he's gone quiet. That woman is the one who holds real power. Do you know what happens when a woman doesn't react to the silence? When he returns, because eventually he doesn't find someone waiting. He finds someone thriving. He finds a woman who's been moving forward, working, dreaming, building, connecting. And that difference, he feels it immediately. Now, I want to ask you something real. Tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like you had to prove you weren't needy, right, when you needed him the most? That inner contradiction, that moment when you're aching for connection, but pretending you're fine. That is where we lose our power. And now comes the truth that might sting for a moment, but it will set you free forever. Sometimes his silence isn't a punishment. It isn't a manipulation. It isn't even about you. Sometimes he's simply focused on his goals, his personal ambitions, his internal world, or even his distractions. And sometimes that's exactly what he should be doing. Men have this ability to compartmentalize, to dive fully into one area of life and tune out the rest. It's not because he doesn't care. It's because that's how his mind processes intensity. Work, stress, problem solving, personal growth, these things can consume him completely. And when they do, relationships move to the back of his awareness. Meanwhile, you may be wondering, why can't he message back? Why can't he make space for me the way I make space for him? And here's the revelation that shifts everything. His silence is an invitation, a portal, a mirror, a divine nudge from the universe that says, while he's in his world, you go build yours. So let me ask you, when was the last time you went 3 days without wondering if he had messaged you? When was the last time you were so consumed with your own projects, your own joy, your own expansion, that you forgot to check your phone? When was the last time you woke up excited about something you were about to create, not something you were hoping he would do? These questions are uncomfortable because they reveal something quietly devastating. How much of our emotional well-being we've outsourced to someone else's attention. But here's the truth you were never taught. You weren't born to orbit around anyone. You are your own universe, with your own gravity, your own light, your own storms, your own sunrise. You have a life to build, milestones to meet, people to love, experiences to drink in. And while he's off in his own world, you come home to yours. While he's quiet, you find your voice. While he's distant, you draw closer to yourself. Because this is the alchemy of feminine power. You don't fill the silence with anxiety. You fill it with creation. You don't chase the noise. You become the music. And here's what happens. When you truly do this, when you genuinely shift your focus inward, when you stop performing strength and start embodying it, when he returns, he won't find the woman he left behind. He'll find a woman with stories to tell, with plans in motion, with joy that wasn't dependent on his presence. He'll find someone who doesn't need him, but who chooses him, and that choice is far more powerful than any plea. So if you're in that moment now, the pause, the silence, the not knowing, I want you to remember this. Your power is not in how you wait. It's in how you live while you wait. Let your days be so full of meaning that his message becomes an afterthought, not a lifeline. Let your heart be so grounded that no silence can unroot you. Let your energy be so magnetic that he feels your absence, like a presence he can't ignore. And when he does come back, let him find you whole. Not because he returned, but because you never left yourself. He'll find a woman who didn't need him to be happy, who didn't put her life on hold, waiting for his attention, who didn't pause her world because he went silent. And that difference, he'll feel it instantly, because there's a completely different energy in a woman who is whole on her own versus one who needs outside validation just to feel okay. Now, we've arrived at the part no one wants to face, but we must with courage and honesty. Yes, sometimes silence means disinterest. It's harsh. It stings, but it's true. And the sooner you accept that truth, the sooner you stop fighting reality, the faster you free yourself from illusions that only drain your energy. Here's what I've learned. After years of watching women cling to men who make no effort, attachment is the enemy, not loss. Attachment to an idea, to a potential, to what could have been, instead of what actually island. Do you know the difference between a woman who suffers for years over a man who doesn't value her and one who frees herself within weeks? It's not strength. It's not luck. It's clarity. The second woman knows this. If he leaves, it's because something better is coming. She doesn't waste her energy trying to convince someone to love her. She doesn't beg for crumbs. She doesn't shrink or twist herself just to be chosen, because she knows real love doesn't require convincing. It doesn't ask you to chase. It doesn't demand you lose yourself to keep someone interested. Now, let me say something that may sound controversial, but it's a truth you need to hear. A man who loses interest for no reason, who disappears without explanation, who lacks the emotional maturity to communicate his feelings, he's doing you a favor. A painful one, yes, but a favor nonetheless, because he's showing you exactly who he is before you invest more time, energy, or hope. He's revealing his communication style, his emotional bandwidth, his capacity to respect another human being. And if all of that is missing, do you really want to build something real with someone like that? Sometimes the universe protects you in ways you don't recognize at first. Sometimes protection comes in the form of silence. Sometimes the best answer you can get is no answer at all, because that absence tells you everything you need to know. Here's what happens when you shift your perspective. Instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" you start asking, "What is this telling me about him?" Instead of seeing his distance as a rejection of your worth, you begin to see it as valuable information about his capacity. But let's also speak the full truth. Not all silence is cruel. Not all men disappear because they don't care. Many men were never taught how to express emotions in a healthy, honest way. Their silence may not be rejection. It may be their only coping mechanism, a reflection of their stress, confusion, or emotional immaturity. Society told them that vulnerability is weakness, that emotions are a woman's territory, that they must carry pain in silence and solve everything alone. So when they're overwhelmed, they withdraw. They disconnect, not to punish you, but because it's the only way they know how to cope. But even that, too, is information. It's not an excuse, but it is context. Because here's the truth. Whether his silence is disinterest or disorientation, it doesn't change the most important thing. You are still whole. You are still enough. You are still worthy of a love that shows up fully. You deserve someone whose version of masculinity includes emotional presence, someone whose silence isn't a wall, but a bridge toward deeper understanding. And until that man appears, keep living, keep building, keep loving yourself fiercely. Because the greatest power isn't in getting him to return, it's in realizing you didn't need him to begin with. Here's what Stoicism teaches us. Don't carry what isn't yours. His internal struggles, his inability to communicate, his way of dealing with stress, those are not your responsibilities to fix, manage, or absorb. You don't have to interpret every pause, every silence, every lack of response as a personal rejection. Sometimes, silence speaks more about his inner world than it ever does about your worth. A man might be dealing with anxiety and have no words for it. He might be silently battling depression and, in his own mind, pulling away to protect you from his low energy. He might be facing financial pressure and feel he can't be the man he wants to be until he solves it. But here's a crucial truth. Understanding all of that doesn't mean you have to tolerate it indefinitely. Compassion is not the same as self-sacrifice. Empathy is not a license to abandon your emotional needs. You can understand why someone behaves a certain way and still decide it's not compatible with the kind of relationship you need. That discernment is your responsibility. That choice is your power. You are allowed to say, I see where you're coming from. I even feel for you. But this isn't what I want to experience in a relationship. Because understanding doesn't mean endless waiting. It doesn't mean shrinking your needs to fit someone else's limitations. And now we arrive at the most transformative perspective of all. Instead of seeing his silence as an offense, instead of taking it as a signal that you need to do more, ask yourself, is this not the perfect moment to return to myself? To grow? To evolve? What if his silence was an invitation not to chase, not to overthink, but to reclaim yourself? What if, instead of asking, why isn't he reaching out, you asked, what can I create while he's not here? What if, instead of waiting for his message, you sent 100 silent messages of love to yourself? What if you used this time of distance to reconnect with friends you've been too distracted to call? To finish that course you abandoned halfway through? To start that project you've been postponing? Get back to your workouts? Return to your art? Dive into those books you've neglected? Because real power isn't about controlling someone else. It's about mastering your response to what they do or don't do. While he stays silent, you can become louder in your own life. While he pulls away, you can lean into your center. While he disconnects, you can reconnect with yourself. I've seen women use a man's silence as a catalyst to launch businesses, to go back to school, to travel, to rediscover their voice, to come back home to themselves. And when that man returns, because often he will, he doesn't find the woman who waited. He finds the woman who transformed. And suddenly, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer the one seeking validation. You're the one deciding whether he still fits in the life you've built without him. That's the shift. From needing him to feel whole, to choosing him, but only if it aligns. Because here's a truth most never say out loud. Men are drawn to women who have full, vibrant lives beyond them. Not women who orbit them. Not women who need their attention to feel alive. But women who are already lit from within. And this may be the most important part of it all. Silence strips away distraction. It leaves you with the only voice that really matters, your own. And that's where the essential question arises, the one that defines the future of everything. Who are you? When he doesn't respond, that question is uncomfortable. It's raw. It's powerful because it reveals exactly where your power lives and where you've been giving it away. So sit with that question. Don't run from it. Let it show you the truth of who you are, not in response to him, but in relationship to yourself. Because that is where everything begins to change. Do you lose yourself when he doesn't respond? Do you feel empty? Do you start questioning everything about yourself, your worth, your beauty, your value? Do you become anxious, insecure, needy? Or do you meet a version of yourself who is strong, centered, and complete on her own? The answer to that question changes everything. It shapes how men perceive you. It shapes the kinds of relationships you attract. It determines whether your power is real or simply borrowed from someone else's attention. This is a dividing line between the woman who lives for male attention and the woman who lives from her own center. The first crumbles in silence. The second blooms in solitude. And here's the irony. Women who embody this energy, who are radiant and rooted whether someone texts them or not, rarely experience long silences. Why? Because men can feel it. They sense when a woman is not desperate for attention. They know when she won't fall apart in their absence. They feel that she has a rich, full life beyond them. Men are drawn to that energy, not because of neediness, but because of wholeness. Because they know she has options. She has standards. She has herself. And that energy is magnetic. The true battleground of stoicism isn't out there. It's not in conquering men or making someone obsess over you. It's in conquering your own reactions. And when you do that, when you become the source of your own validation, your own peace, your own happiness, then other people's silence stops being a threat. It becomes an opportunity. But let me be honest with you. Getting to this point isn't easy. It takes real work, deep, uncomfortable, soul-stretching work. It requires facing your own insecurities, your old patterns of emotional dependence, your deep-rooted fears of abandonment. It demands that you build a relationship with yourself that is so grounded, so true, so loving, that no one else's behavior can shake it. Women often ask me, but how do I stop caring when he doesn't reach out? And I always say the same thing. It's not about not caring. It's about caring more, about your own peace than his attention, about your own growth more than his presence, about your own voice more than his silence. It's about building a life so rich, so purposeful, so full of joy and meaning that no man's silence could ever empty it. Because when your world is full, you're not threatened by someone walking out of it. And here's the part I love sharing most. When a woman reaches that place, when she becomes whole within herself, everything changes. Not just her relationships with men, her relationship with work, with her family, with her body, with money, with friends, with herself, because the same inner strength that keeps you grounded when he doesn't text back is the same power that helps you negotiate better, set boundaries that stick, walk away from what's not aligned, and choose only what truly nourishes you. Now that you know the real reasons behind male silence, now that you understand what it truly means, we arrive at the question that really matters. What will you do with this knowledge? Because understanding is only the first step. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. But transformation, that happens when you change your response. When you live these truths, when you practice them daily. So here's what I want you to do. The next time he goes quiet, the next time you don't get a message, the next time your mind starts spinning, pause. Don't reach for your phone. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't invent stories in your head. Instead, take a breath, a deep, conscious breath, and ask yourself this: what do I need right now? Not what you need from him, not what you wish he'd say or do, but what you need from yourself. For yourself, let the silence become a mirror. And in that mirror, meet the woman you were always meant to be. Do you need peace? Do you need movement? A walk? A workout? Do you need to call a friend, finish that project, or simply take a few quiet moments just for yourself? Then do that. give yourself what you need, instead of waiting for him to give it to you. Because here's the magic. When you become your own source of care, attention, and validation, when you treat yourself the way you deserve to be treated, you naturally begin to attract people who treat you the same way. His silence is not a command to go chasing him. It's an invitation to come home to yourself. Every time he doesn't reach out and you stay centered, every time he doesn't reply and you remain grounded in your life, every time he disappears and you don't disappear from your own existence, you are building something no one can take from you, your personal power. And I want you to understand something deeply, fully in your bones. This power isn't just about attracting better men. It's about living better. It's about waking up in the morning with a clear heart, sleeping peacefully at night, making decisions from confidence, not from fear. Because one thing is to know intellectually that you shouldn't chase someone who won't pursue you. But it's something entirely different to feel that truth so deeply that it shapes how you move, how you choose, how you love. To know without doubt that you deserve someone who puts in effort, who communicates with clarity, who doesn't leave you guessing, who makes you feel safe, wanted, prioritized. And here's what I've seen again and again in women who step into this version of themselves. They stop justifying what they used to tolerate. They stop making excuses for men who go missing. They stop accepting crumbs when they know they deserve the full feast. Do you know what's the most liberating part of all this? When you stop chasing someone who doesn't look for you, you instantly create space for someone who will. When you stop pouring your energy into one-sided situation, that energy stays with you. You begin to use it to build something real, something aligned, something worthy of who you're becoming. I've had women come back to me and say, I can't believe how much silence I used to tolerate. I can't believe I once panicked over the attention of someone who clearly wasn't choosing me. I can't believe my self-worth used to hinge on whether he texted back or not. That is the real transformation. You don't just change how you respond to silence. You change what you're willing to accept. You raise your standards. You change your relationship with yourself. Because here's a truth you need to carve into your heart. The woman who stays grounded, who doesn't beg, who doesn't chase, who doesn't lose herself. She is the woman no man ever forgets. Not because she plays games, not because she's hard to get, but because she is impossible to replace. And do you know why she's impossible to replace? Because she's not following a script to get a man. She's simply being herself. She's living from her center. She's aligned with her truth. She radiates a calm, unshakable power that can't be manufactured. That kind of energy doesn't come from strategies. It doesn't come from rules. It comes from years of inner work, of self-discovery, of learning how to validate herself without anyone else's approval. When a woman knows her worth, when she doesn't panic in silence, when she's at peace in her own skin, she becomes magnetic in a way that can't be fake. She doesn't attract attention by needing it. She draws people in by simply being whole, not from manipulation, but from authenticity, not from lack, but from abundance. And I want you to know something important. Not every woman arrives at this place at the same time. Some need to pass through heartbreak, confusion, and silence before they awaken to their power. Others recognize it early and walk into it with clarity and grace. Both paths are valid. This isn't a race. There is no behind or ahead. The only thing that truly matters is that you're moving forward. That each day, you're making choices that bring you closer to becoming the woman you were always meant to be. The one who doesn't beg for love, because she knows she deserves it without having to ask. His silence might be a test, a distraction, an internal conflict, or, yes, even plain disinterest. But your response to that silence, that's what defines who you are. It determines whether you come out of this situation diminished or empowered. And here's what I've witnessed time and time again. The women who use their challenges as fuel for growth, who see obstacles as invitations to rise, who transform pain into power. Those women become unstoppable, not just in love, but in everything. Because the inner strength you build while staying grounded in the face of silence, that's the same strength you will carry into your career, your friendships, your goals, your boundaries. It's the ability to not take things personally. Keep your self-worth independent of someone else's behavior. Stay focused on your path, even when someone else steps off theirs. So the next time he doesn't reach out, don't ask yourself what you did wrong. Ask yourself what you can do right. Instead of waiting for him, find yourself. Instead of chasing him, build a life so magnetic, so full of meaning and movement, that he wants to be a part of it. Not out of pity, not out of guilt, but out of genuine admiration. Instead of asking, why isn't he texting me? Ask, what can I create today? Instead of obsessing over your phone, obsess over your dreams, your ideas, your passions. Instead of analyzing his last message, start strategizing your next move. Because in the end, this is not about decoding male silence. It's about constructing an inner world so rich, so alive, so full, that no one else's silence has the power to shake it. It's about creating a life that's so full of purpose, joy, and momentum that another person's absence can't drain it because it was never theirs to define in the first place. It's about becoming so whole within yourself that anyone who comes into your life is a bonus, not a requirement. And that doesn't mean closing yourself off. It doesn't mean shutting down or becoming cold. In fact, it means the opposite. It means loving from a place of abundance, not from lack. It means giving from a full heart, not to be chosen, but because you have so much to offer. And when you live from that place, when you love from that place, you realize something truly powerful. The strength, the worth, the beauty you were searching for was always within you. You just had to remember it. You just had to reclaim it. You just had to decide that you will no longer chase someone to prove your value, because you deserve to be loved without convincing anyone. So now I want to hear from you. Which of these truths spoke the loudest to your heart? Have you experienced these patterns before? Did you recognize yourself in any of them? Share your story in the comments, because your voice might be the one that lifts another woman out of confusion and into clarity. Don't be afraid to be honest. We've all been there. We've all lost ourselves a little at some point. The difference is some of us choose to come back stronger. Remember this. You didn't come into this world to be someone's backup plan. You came here to be your own priority. You didn't come to beg for scraps of love. You came to radiate self-love so fiercely that only those who recognize your value are drawn to your light. Your power does not lie in who texts you or who doesn't. It lies in how you choose to respond. Use that power. Use it wisely. Use it for you. And if this message helped you shift something, even just a little, if it gave you a new perspective or helped you reclaim a piece of your strength, like it, share it, and send it to a woman you love. Because healing doesn't happen alone. We rise together.